Let's bring in senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America, Ken Cuccinelli. Ken, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. You heard in CB's report right there, you can house up to about 30,000 migrants at Guantanamo Bay. Do you think that that's enough capacity for what the president's trying to do here?
No, and honestly, it's a great facility to use. Of course, you've got to ship people there, so there are expenses with using it that don't exist in other places. On the other hand, there's one other example. We don't talk about Cuba much, but 3 of the top countries for not taking back adjudicated repatriatable, what for us are deportees, Cuba's one of the top 3. Well, you can take them to Gitmo and walk them through the gate. That's like returning Mexicans right across the border. That's easy to do from Guantanamo. Of course, the secretary was talking about using it to house more dangerous criminal illegal aliens. It's also useful for that purpose. And as she noted, there are no due process problems in utilizing Gitmo. It is also interesting, I agree with the secretary, ACLU wasn't interested in the Biden administration losing tens of thousands of children, but they are very interested in protecting the most vicious, violent criminals in the Western Hemisphere.
You know, Ken, you brought up the issue of countries taking migrants back. This is a big foreign policy issue. How much of an issue is it for the U.S. government? It's determined that somebody's going to get deported, and then that country won't take them back.
That is a very significant issue. Obviously, with a country like Mexico, where we share a border, you can walk them across the border. But if you want to take them back to their home country, you can't do that for almost anybody else. The Chinese and Indians are 2 other big countries in not taking back their own deportees in the top 3 countries. But that's going to be a major issue. I will tell you, we obviously compare to the Joe Biden administration, and it's night and day with President Trump. But let's go back to Trump 1. I don't recall any Secretary of State among President Trump's secretaries of state in the first administration going to a country in the Western Hemisphere, for starters, and Marco Rubio has already done that. And 2, taking on the State Department bureaucracy, Marco Rubio has already done that. And 3, actually raised himself the issue of immigration with other Western Hemisphere nations, and Marco Rubio has already done that. It is a whole new world, and we could say the same thing about Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense compared to the first Trump administration. The whole team is on board, and that didn't happen in the first Trump administration. So you're going to see a lot more movement, a lot more activity, a lot more protection of the American homeland and people because of the efforts of the Department of Homeland Security.
On the front end of all this are these ICE raids that have been ongoing. The border czar, Tom Homan, has suggested that some of these ICE raids have been tipped off, but he has given an update on what his efforts have been. Here's what Homan had to say.
I'm not satisfied yet. We got to have more criminal arrests, and the sanctuary cities are slowing us down. But we're going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming, and they're not going to stop us. But it's less efficient to arrest a bad guy in the public where he's hiding from us, and we're trying to arrest him on his turf, rather than arresting him in a county jail, which we should be arresting him there.
How much of a challenge is sanctuary cities to what Homan and the administration are trying to do?
Well, look, Tom used a word I haven't heard yet, and it's very important: efficient. When you're trying to get to the kind of numbers that President Trump wants to reach, that he has promised, they're going to have to build efficiencies into this system. So when you go, as Tom just said, it's more efficient to go pick a criminal up at a jail than to go find them in the community. One of the hardest things to do is just to find somebody. And so when you do find them, and by the way, if they're staying with others who are here illegally, you should pick them up. The Biden administration did not do that. That's more efficient. So they're really going to have to build a lot more, not just capacity. You and I were talking about prison beds at Gitmo, for example, but efficiency. If they're going to scale up, they're going to need to build a lot more efficiency into the system. And that goes to detention, handling the legal issues, and the transportation logistics as well, all at the same time. That's where the management skills and expertise really get tested and come into play. That's where things are going to really get moving, or they're going to get blocked for the Trump administration, is on those logistics.
All right, Ken Cuccinelli, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Good to be with you.